That was an incredible qualifying. This is Nailing the Apex, and I'm Tim Hauraney. Max Verstappen gets pole position for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Magnificent lap from Max. If you didn't see it, it was incredible. These drivers, especially the top three, really pushed each other out there today, and just pushed each other so much to their own personal limits at a track that is extremely daunting. So I've used that word already once this year, and that was in Suzuka, because that track is daunting. It's a track that you need to build up the confidence towards putting the car on the limit. And so this is the same sort of track, only with walls. So there you go. I think nobody, including Max, expected them to be on pole for this race. Not with how free practice 1 went, free practice 2 at the same time. But in Q3, when Lando Norris crashed, so we'll get to Lando Norris a little bit later, but I want to start with Max just because of what a remarkable job this guy's done so far this season. It's been pretty mind-blowing, but let's just go to the crash. So Lando has his crash, and the red flag comes out. Piastri's on provisional pole. Nobody else has set a lap. That crash meant that for Verstappen, he had to change his whole approach to how Q3 was going to go for him. And his engineer, Jean-Pierre Lambiase, told him while he was in the car, told him they were fueling for 2 push laps. And they were basically just saying, like, look, we believe in you, and this is what we think is best for you to have a chance at trying to get pole position. So fueled him for 2 push laps, sent him out on the used tire, and then once he had set a representative time, which was provisional pole, he then came into pit for a new tire. So the team sent him out on that strategy just to get him comfortable and back into a rhythm where he felt like he could take the car to the limit. And really have to give a lot of credit to the team here, because it was an extremely smart move for them to do that. And that's how they got pole position. That's how Max was able to extract everything out of this car himself and the track, because that one, basically that one representative lap that he did, the very first one, just got him comfortable, had him understand where his limits sort of were and where he could sort of start to, eke out a little bit more over those limits. He did get a tiny little toe from Yuki Tsunoda, but he still needed to put in a big commitment to achieve pole position, and finding the limit at this track is, it's kind of like Monaco, higher, but higher speed, really. Just, again, with the same word, big commitment. Really remarkable stuff. I think for the final push lap from Max, just rushing the wall, getting the turn in on entry spot on, getting the exit portion spot on, especially with when to get the power down to get out of the corner and not smash the car into a wall. So, because you're trying to pre-predict where you think the car is going to end up once you commit to full power in these cars. I think also one of the things is he had a lot of bumping going into turn 22. So the car actually like bouncing up and down. And, for him, that was hard for him to see, even just the apex of turn 22. And if you go back and you watch Adam and mine, basically our YouTube video on our sim lap of this track, you can see where, I kind of commit to full power, and how I judge that commitment with where the wall is going to be, and how I can unwind the steering wheel. And that just takes trust in the car and the setup as well. And that's something, I'm going to chat about right now with the setup, because for Red Bull, they made a lot of changes to this car on Friday, and they finally just settled on a setup with fine tuning towards qualifying. So finally hit a setup that I think Max could work with, and then just use the in-car tools, and then obviously a few wing changes here and there to really dial the car in as much as they could. And I think for Max, one of the things that he's talked about over this weekend is really wanting to learn more from this car and more about, the different types of things it can do and the things that it can't really do, and experiment a lot with different types of setups. That is a huge, that's a really difficult thing to do because of the way you drive a race car. And if you're throwing all of these different setups at it, you're having to adjust how you do different things with the car. But you also have to remember that the tire only lasts so long. You only have so many tires you can go and do things like this and get representative lap times out of it. So you have to be super dialed in as a driver to extract the performance from yourself in the car with whatever setup is on it. So pre-predicting like what it is going to do, absolutely remarkable stuff. It shows you how much, Max really has to think about what he is going to do with the car instead of just going out and driving everything on instinct. He's already pre-planning everything, and that just shows you the amount of experience that this guy's got now. And just not enough great things can be said about him today, because that's not the fastest car out there, and I don't believe it should be in pole position. The McLarens should be 1 and 2 in this thing, and somehow Max has found a way to really extract a ton of performance from something that's just not really working 100% just yet. And we'll talk more about Red Bull, their car, their wind tunnel in Monday's show with Adam. But I just wanted to kind of quickly glaze over this, so kind of set you up for what we're going to talk about when we get out of this race weekend. I can dive a little more deeper into those details. For the race for tomorrow, the pole sitter here has won 3 out of the 4 times at this race. But McLaren, McLaren's better in the corners right now, but they're slower down the straightaways, where Verstappen or the Red Bull, they've really trimmed out his car again, much like Suzuka. So it makes passing him even more difficult. But again, not having as much downforce in the corners means that, going through some of these turns with not a lot of downforce on the car has got to be extremely scary. But for Verstappen, just somehow able to really just commit to all of these big, high speed turns. Verstappen, though, not too confident that going into Sunday that they can win this thing, because the long run pace wasn't that good for them. But he did explain that the new setup that they put on the cars is a bit better, but not sure how he can kind of keep the tire alive like the McLaren can. Just really remarkable stuff from him. Can't say enough good things about that because he was incredible. Oscar Piastri also remarkable. Even George Russell also remarkable as well. They were all fantastic. For Piastri, I wonder how the red flag affected him, because it did sound like it put him out of his rhythm. The rhythm, the confidence, so important at this track. So on his first push lap, he made a mistake, and he did know that he would have to go out again and just do a better job. Essentially, he was happy with his second push lap, but he said that was all that he had out there today. That was it. I think he'll be competitive tomorrow. There's loads of DRS zones around here, so I think it's going to be different from what it was like in Suzuka. So I think there's going to be way more opportunities for Oscar to come away with victory. But interesting to note that when the track is really hot, and this is what I'm starting to learn, you go back to free practice 3 in Bahrain and scorching hot track, and Piastri just set a lap that was absolutely astonishing in free practice 3 in Bahrain, in very hot conditions. And then again in Saudi Arabia in the afternoon in free practice 3, again, the McLaren just blowing everybody out of the water in these extremely hot conditions. But then once things start to cool down a bit, and the track comes back to everybody else, you can see the field really catches up. And so there is something there that the teams are missing when it comes to tire management and overheating. And so that, I think, is where McLaren's sort of secret sauce is right now. It's how they're working the tire within the race, because now we're seeing in qualifying, when things cool down just a tiny bit, just how close this field is. I mean, the top 3 separated by 1/10 of a second. I mean, it's friggin' awesome. Like, never thought we'd be this close ever in Formula One, yet here we are. George Russell, P3. George felt there was more on the table for his lap, because he never got a representative time on the board in Q3. So that's why he felt that there was more. And by representative time on the board in Q3, I meant earlier, before Lando had his accident. But it was discussed between Mercedes and George about going out and doing the same thing as what Max was doing. So put more fuel in, go out, do a representative time, quickly box for a new set of tires, and go back out and do one final push lap, just to kind of, again, build the confidence towards the limit. Russell thinks that there will be more opportunities in this race compared to Suzuka for passing and maybe finishing higher up than P3. But I think turn 1 tomorrow is going to be very, very interesting. Charles Leclerc, P4. The team is still just, I think, missing grip compared to the others. They have, for him explaining this, it sounds like they have tried a lot of different setups on the car this weekend. And for Leclerc, he was able to find the sweet spot of the setup that he felt was perfect for him to extract everything from the car. But that is all the pace that car has. The lap was on the limit. He just needs a bit more grip out of the car. So, that's going to come with time. But at the moment, if you want to fight for a driver's championship or even constructor's championship, the updates are going to need to start coming to the car a lot sooner. P5 for Kimi Antonelli, really impressive stuff from him. However, his last lap, he did make a big mistake in sector 1. That lost him about 0.4, but he was happy with P5. He was feeling good in the car. So he's going to do a lot of preparation tonight to be ready for some good results on Sunday. And, hearing him say that, it's good, because it means he's going to stick around later tonight, dive into more information with the engineers so he can be better prepared for the race on Sunday. And I think in Bahrain, he learned that lesson of not only managing the tire, but maybe putting in a little bit more extra work to prepare himself for all of the different outcomes that could happen in terms of strategy for tomorrow. So I think that's good. He's growing. He's a rookie, right? So this is what you want to see. Carlos Sainz, absolutely remarkable from him and Williams. The car looked really good here this weekend. We'll talk about Albon in a second. But for Carlos Sainz, I mean, it's the second weekend in a row in Q3. He keeps getting closer to extracting the maximum out of the car. His hard work behind the scenes, and we've always talked about how this driver is a very hard worker. Just his hard work behind the scenes to learn the car, relearn some driving habits have really come along, and it's working for him now. So I think it's working sooner than what he expected it was going to be. I think he was more looking at being comfortable with everything by, race 9, race 10, not now, not whatever it is, 4 or 5 races in. I loved in Bahrain when he was trying to fight with the faster cars in front of him. May have damaged his race results, but I still, appreciate the fact that he's willing to get in there and scrap because he wants to let everyone know he's still got the pace. He's fast. It hasn't gone anywhere. So we'll see if he decides to chop it up with faster cars tomorrow or not. But let's see. I hope he does because it's really exciting stuff. And I really appreciate aggressive driving like that. Lewis Hamilton, P7. It's been a really rough weekend for Lewis. But today I think he was a little happier than he was on Friday, that's for sure. Free practice 3 looked like a bit of a struggle as well out there on Saturday afternoon. But, Friday, he just wasn't happy with the car underneath him. And, it's a confidence thing at the same time, right? So you got to make sure you don't overstep those limits of the car and crash and ruin your confidence. So, again, just trying to find what works best for him and tiptoeing his way up to the limit. And, that's what you got to do when you're on a new team, learning a new car. I think he's been working really hard behind the scenes just to get his driving style and this car to sort of come together. I think he's going to have to try and find a way, though, to, like Sainz, adapt his style a bit more to what the car is actually giving him. So that may be something that starts to happen next for him. I think he's seeing what Leclerc is doing with the car now, and then also with the setup as well. And it kind of sounds like he may be going in that more of a direction, which is a good thing. But again, this is going to take time. I've said it in the preseason podcast that we did. Just going to take time for him. That's all it is, really. P8 for Yuki Tsunoda, almost a second off of Max at the end of Q3 there. But, I thought it was an okay session from him, considering what happened on Friday with his crash. He missed the first 25 minutes of FP3 this afternoon, or Saturday afternoon, I should say. The team didn't want to use their curfew on Friday night to fix Tsunoda's car. So they still had a lot of work to do on the car on Saturday morning to try and get it ready for FP3. So that's why he missed so much time in FP3. But again, critical track time, right? Like, this is a track, you need to be on it. You need to be driving on it to find your rhythm. But yeah, again, the team didn't feel like it was worth using up one of their curfew allowances so early in the season. So his final push lap was a bit messy at the end there. And I don't think he could really put it all together. So put the entire lap together without, making mistakes. And for him, he had said that the car was doing things that he couldn't predict. So, that is something that this car can be known for. But he does feel like the setup is more towards what he's going to do in the race, or what should come from the race for him. P9 for Pierre Gasly. Great performance from him in the Alpine. Again, that Alpine looking very handy in the high-speed stuff. It looks great in the corners. They've really done some great work with that car. Excited to see where Gasly ends up at the end of the race on Sunday. Lando Norris, P10. That's your championship leader, Lando Norris. Coming in here, I did say he was going to be the driver I would be watching closely to see if he could bounce back from Bahrain, get the confidence in the car and just move it forward. Now I wonder, how his crash is going to affect his confidence moving forward. I mean, sometimes it actually doesn't affect the driver. Sometimes they bounce back after situations like this. Sometimes, though, it can be a bit of a snowball effect where things kind of get worse and worse and worse before you just really have to grab things by the scruff of the neck and really turn it around. Looking at the damage on that car and the impact and the way it went into the wall, I think it could need a new gearbox, maybe. I mean, if it does need a new gearbox, I mean, boy, there could be penalties involved in there somewhere along the lines. Let's see what happens, but there is a lot of damage on that car. He didn't talk much about the crash, but I did hear from Andrea Stella, and Stella felt like he was pushing a bit too much in that corner. And once you sort of hit the curb, you become a passenger, essentially. So Lando's not expecting anything great for tomorrow. He's stuck in a lot of dirty air, I think. Doesn't think he can get too close to George, or everyone who's in P1, P2, P3, P4 even. He's not sure if he can get up past, P5, P6. So we'll see where he sort of ends up. But I mean, just really difficult situation for Lando. I mean, at the end of the day, this could really, he could lose the championship lead after this race if, seeing where Max finishes and where Oscar finishes, it could go away from him after this race weekend. But he's going to have to fight like hell for this championship this season just because of how close everything is. P11 for Alex Albon, 7 thousandths of a second away from getting into Q3. I mean, really good stuff from Alex. I think for the team, though, they lost. Well, I should say, I'll start with Alex. He lost a bit in the middle sector, but the team, I think, sent him out when nobody else was really out there doing anything, and I don't think that actually helped them. Lost a lot on the track evolution since there was no other cars running. The evolution wasn't coming along, so I think that involved with essentially Venturi tunnels that get created with all the cars going down the straightaway and punching holes in the air. You do kind of get that draft effect when lots of cars are kind of out circulating. So I don't know if that actually did them any favors either, but the team went down to lower downforce for his setup. So that could play into his favor if the tire deg, I think, favors them as well. P12 for Lawson. It felt like he got everything out of the car, but just wasn't enough. P13 for Fernando Alonso. I mean, they've been trying to really improve this car over the weekend, and it's been looking really tough to try and get this Aston Martin into a window where both drivers can actually extract something from it. They tried to improve the car. They did a ton of different setup packages to it. Felt they are ahead for Fernando. I think he feels that he's ahead of where they probably should be. That just means it wasn't a really great lap. But Alonso thinks the race tomorrow will be hard because they aren't as fast as P13 in the long run. So I'll quickly go through the rest here. P14 for Hajar, P15 for Behrman. For Haas, they're using two older rear wings from the VF24, if I'm not mistaken. New front wing as well. He didn't think they had Q3 in them today. He had trouble getting the new. So he liked the car when it was on older soft tires, but when they switched the car over to the new softs, it was harder for him to get it into the right window because he just didn't improve on the lap time either. Q1. So Lance, he was the first one. So I guess Lance P16, we'll start there, had his most competitive session of the weekend in qualifying. That's for sure. The team did a few setup changes that helped with the confidence. But again, team was checking for track limits from other cars as he was sitting in the car at the end of Q1, as he was just 7/100ths off of getting into Q2. 7/100ths. But again, I think the same sort of thing, just trying to find the right setup where the driver can feel comfortable, confident to go out and extract performance, getting the tire in the right window too, and having all of those things sort of come together. And right now, Aston Martin really just searching to try and find where that is. Jack Doohan lost time pretty much everywhere. The team had some gremlins with this car yesterday, so couldn't get Jack comfortable. So that really, losing the time in those sessions, it affected how he was evolving himself and the car at the same time. Race pace, he thinks, could be pretty solid on Sunday for the team. So let's see how it goes. But I mean, yeah, this is a really tough track to lose time on. It's like I'd said, you need to be running on the track all the time to build the confidence, get the setup done. Nico Hulkenberg, and then it was Esteban Ocon. I think for Esteban, just the first sector just got away from him. But I think it still would have been difficult for Esteban to get out of Q1. And then Bortoleto. So the team discovered a fuel leak on Gabriel's car at the end of free practice 1 on Friday. And so for them, he's losing just so much track time. And so, yeah, really, really difficult to kind of build up and be as fast as and confident as you want to be. So yeah, tough one for Gabriel Bortoleto. I'm gonna take a few of your questions because I did get a bunch. Let's go to Twitter first, and we'll start with Sarah. Sarah says, still early days in the season, of course, but how do you think McLaren is going to handle the Oscar versus Lando conversations now that Oscar is looking cool and confident in the car, and both are viable title contenders? Great question. Yeah, I think Zach did speak about this earlier on Saturday. It kind of just sounded like, hey, we know that these two could come to some pretty heated races against one another, and that's going to happen. I think for the team, they're just going to have to try and do their best to make sure that they don't create contact, because things are going to get heated on the track between the two of them. There is no question about that. They are super close. When Lando's feeling very confident in the car, he does extract a lot of performance from it. And Oscar's just always, he's really consistent at being quick now. Like, he is on it all the time. And so they're going to push each other a lot, which sometimes, things will boil over. It's just going to be down to the team to control them. That's basically, what it all comes down to. Andrew asks, Tim, I'm gutted for Lando. As a former driver yourself, what would you do to try and get some confidence back if you were in his shoes? That's a great question. First things first is, I think when struggling with confidence, always want to zero in on what exactly it is. Once I understood what was causing me to lose confidence within myself and the car, it was easier for me to work on that, and go out each session and understand that, hey, the car's not necessarily making me feel 100% confident in a singular turn. It's working that turn and then trying to find something within the setup window that may help the car a tiny bit, but doesn't take the car out of the window for every other corner. Because you have to remember, every time you make an adjustment to the car, it affects other parts of the track. So if the team gives you something and you go out and, I don't know, I'm just going to throw a number out there. Let's say there's 15 corners. And let's say 10 corners you're feeling very confident in, and 5 you're just not. You're struggling. You're not getting the confidence in those five corners. So it's harder for you to put the lap together. It's trying to find, okay, well, how can I which corners can I sacrifice a bit in to get a setup that's closer, that'll help me maybe knock off a few other corners of the track, so I can push more towards what could be my own theoretical lap time. And then I have to understand that, look, this may not be the fastest lap out there, and I may not be the fastest driver out there, but it's going to keep me in the game. It's going to keep me close, and it will help me rebuild the confidence that I need. So for me, that's always been my approach. It's never been like throwing everything at the car, changing everything, and then losing your confidence by, scaring yourself, like going at a track like here in Saudi Arabia. For Norris, I mean, there are moments where he does look a little more comfortable in the car, and then there are moments when he just doesn't. For that qualifying session, that crash, I mean, he does go in. It does look like he goes in late on the brakes, so he's really pushing. He misses that inside apex wall, and with that, you're generating a ton of understeer. And so already you need to put your head in front of the car. You already know that this lap is toast, right? You know you're going to get high-sided by the curbs. And once you do that, you know you're going to have some sort of a snap at some point if you go back to power. get too much air under the car because you've high-sided it. And so, yeah, I mean, just putting all those things together, and that's what results in his crash. I mean, you have to really be on it in those moments. I don't want to take anything away from Lando Norris. I mean, he's been a champion in other formulas. He knows how to win. I think he does know how to be a champion, and I think he can be a champion. It's just once he gets through a full race distance tomorrow, I think he'll come back for Miami and so on and so forth. Sometimes having a crash sometimes really just unlocks a driver even more. Once they understand why they had a crash, it's easier for them to understand where they're lacking sometimes. Noah, as a Red Bull fan, can we just race at 24 front limited tracks? That's a good one. That's actually that's interesting. Yes. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I mean, look, I think for Red Bull, just trying to find as many different setup windows as possible and then basically checking them all off. And once Max has done all of that, which it looks like and sounds like he has, that is going to help them throw different things at the car when they start running into these situations where they look, I don't want to say helpless, but a tiny bit lost, let's just say. So I think that what he is doing is going to help them in the long run. Let's go over to Blue Sky because I got a bunch of questions over there as well. Dade Murphy, what do you think of Yuki's performance? He seems to be getting a better handle on the car. Yes, I agree with that, Dade. I think he is. I think if he limit the mistake that he had in Q3, he probably would have been theoretical lap time. He would have been closer to Max. Wouldn't have been a second, I don't think. It does look like in the free practice sessions he was, 3 to 5 tenths off of Max, and that just shows you that he's figuring it out. But I felt it was really interesting what he said at the end of quali, where its car is hard to predict. So that's going to take some work and just more time in the car and more seat time. That's all that is. Tamara Sutherland, what's your thoughts now that Carlos Sainz seemed to be getting settled with the Williams P6 and out-qualifying Hamilton is a great result? It is a great result. I think, like I always say about Carlos, he's a really, really hard worker. And that's not to say that Lewis isn't, because Lewis is a very hard worker as well. I think they're just facing two different situations. Maybe one car has a bigger window for drivability, let's call it, and where the other just doesn't and has to really work with a really narrow operating window on something. But once that driver's found the sweet spot on that car, they're able to unlock a lot more of its potential. It's just really starting to understand what that is. Cameron, why is the start line different from the timing line / finish line? That's a great question. I was thinking the same thing. I will try and find out and get back to you on that one, Cameron, because I should message the FIA and ask them, because I was actually curious about that as well. That was an incredible qualifying. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. Sorry I couldn't get to all of them. Did my best. Running out of time here. So I know I was supposed to keep these short, but it's hard for me to keep these short. I just keep talking. That's the problem. Anyways, thanks very much, everybody, for watching and listening. Adam and I will be back on Monday for our post-Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.